What if one single note could make an entire stadium stop, listen, and feel something they could not explain? That is exactly the question surrounding a Jimin vocal moment that has once again caught the attention of ARMY. For just a few seconds, Jimin's voice rises into a strikingly high register, sounding clear, emotional, and incredibly powerful. But was this really one of Jimin's highest notes? Or is there something more interesting happening behind those few seconds? The clip has sparked renewed discussion among fans because people are not simply talking about how high Jimin's voice sounds. They are talking about the feeling behind it. And that distinction matters. Because when Jimin sings, the conversation is rarely just about hitting a note. It is about how that note makes people feel. Some fans describe moments like this as the kind that make them stop whatever they are doing and replay the clip again. Others focus on the emotional quality of his voice, saying that even when Jimin reaches a high register, the sound still carries a sense of vulnerability and warmth. But before we get to the most interesting part of this moment, there is something we need to understand about Jimin's voice. Jimin has a distinctive vocal color that can immediately stand out within a BTS performance. His voice can sound soft and delicate in one moment, then become brighter, more intense, and more emotionally charged when the song demands it. That contrast is one of the reasons his vocal moments often receive so much attention. And when he moves toward a higher register, the result can feel especially dramatic. But there is a common misunderstanding about high notes. A high note is not automatically impressive simply because it is high. From a technical perspective, singing higher requires coordination between breath support, vocal fold control, resonance, articulation, and register transitions. In other words, what sounds effortless to the audience can actually require significant control from the singer. This is why the question surrounding Jimin's performance is more complicated than simply asking, how high did he sing? A better question might be, how did he make that high note sound like part of the emotion of the song? That is where this moment becomes particularly fascinating. In the viral clip, attention quickly shifts toward Jimin as his voice rises into the higher section. His expression appears focused. The microphone remains close. And instead of relying on exaggerated movements, the moment allows the vocal itself to take center stage. Sometimes, those are the moments that have the biggest impact. There is no complicated explanation needed. There is simply the voice, the music, and the reaction of the audience. For viewers watching online, the moment may last only a few seconds. But those few seconds can become the part that people replay over and over. Once. Twice. And then again. Every replay can reveal something different. Some listeners notice the pitch. Others notice the tone. So the title of this video asks a question. Did Jimin hit his highest note? Maybe. But the more interesting story is how he delivered it. Because reaching a high note is only one part of the challenge. Keeping the note controlled is another. And making that note emotionally meaningful is something else entirely. A singer can reach a technically difficult pitch, but if the emotion disappears, the audience may not connect with it. Jimin often approaches vocal moments differently. His delivery can make the audience feel as though the voice is not simply being projected toward them, but is carrying the emotion of the lyrics directly into the room. That is why some of his high notes can feel surprisingly intimate, even when thousands of people are watching. And this is especially important during live performances. There can be production adjustments. There can be editing and mixing. But on stage, the situation is much less predictable. There are lights. There are cameras. There is choreography. There is crowd noise. There is physical exhaustion. There is the pressure of performing in front of thousands of people. And sometimes there are environmental conditions that cannot be controlled. That is why live vocals can reveal another side of a performer. The singer has to react in real time. There is no opportunity to simply stop the performance and start again because one note did not go exactly as planned. This is one reason why fans often pay close attention to live vocal moments. And Jimin has spent years performing under that kind of pressure. But there is still another question. What exactly makes this particular moment so captivating? Is it the pitch? Is it the tone? Is it the emotion? Or is it the combination of all three? Perhaps the answer is a little bit of everything. Listen carefully to the way Jimin's voice moves toward the higher section. Instead of hearing only a single isolated note, try to hear the transition. Listen to how the vocal color changes. Notice how the intensity builds. And then listen to what happens emotionally when the voice reaches that higher point. That transition can be just as important as the note itself. Because a great vocal performance is not simply a collection of impressive notes. It is a story. The singer begins somewhere. The emotion develops. The intensity rises. That is what makes a performance memorable. And this may be why ARMY reactions to Jimin's vocals can become so emotional. They are not necessarily analyzing every technical detail. They are feeling the result. They hear the voice. They see the expression. They experience the atmosphere. And somehow, those elements come together. The result is a moment that feels larger than the few seconds shown on screen. There is also something particularly interesting about Jimin's stage presence. He does not always need exaggerated movements to attract attention. Sometimes a small facial expression or a subtle change in delivery can be enough. When the vocal moment arrives, the audience naturally focuses on him. And suddenly, everything else becomes secondary. That is the power of a strong performer. The stage does not necessarily need to become louder. Sometimes it simply needs to become quieter. Because silence around a powerful vocal moment can make the sound feel even bigger. Now imagine hearing this moment through headphones. The experience can become even more detailed. You may notice the texture of the voice. You may hear the transition between registers more clearly. You may notice the breath before the phrase. And you may begin to understand why fans are reacting so strongly. Again, the important point is not simply whether the note is the highest Jimin has ever sung. The important point is what the note communicates. A technically high note can impress you, but an emotional high note can stay with you. And perhaps that is the real reason this clip continues to attract attention. Because Jimin is not simply reaching upward vocally. He is taking the emotion of the song with him. And that brings us to the part of this story that becomes even more interesting. Because if we stop looking at the clip as nothing more than a high note compilation moment, we may miss the details that actually make it special. There is a visual and emotional element surrounding the performance that changes the way the moment can be interpreted. And now, this brings us to the most important part of this story. Perhaps the real reason Jimin's high note has captured so much attention is not simply because it sounds high. It is because the moment feels genuine. His voice carries a combination of control, emotion, and vulnerability that can make even a short performance feel much bigger than it actually is. For ARMY, this is more than just another impressive vocal clip. It is a reminder of how far Jimin has come as an artist, and how deeply his voice has connected with listeners around the world. When he reaches those higher notes, fans are not only hearing technique, they are hearing years of performances, preparation, pressure, growth, and passion coming together in a single moment. And that may explain why the reaction is so emotional. Some people hear a beautiful note, others hear a memory, and others hear the voice of an artist who has accompanied them through different chapters of their lives. That is what makes music so powerful. As for the claim that this is absolutely Jimin's highest note ever, it is important to keep expectations realistic. A short viral clip alone cannot prove such a claim without detailed musical and technical analysis. But there is no question that the moment has reminded fans once again why Jimin's vocals remain such an important part of BTS's musical identity. The high note may last only a few seconds, but the feeling it creates can last much longer. And perhaps that is the real story behind this viral moment. Jimin did not simply reach a high note. He turned a few seconds of singing into a moment that made people stop, listen, replay, and feel. So ARMY, now it is your turn. When you heard Jimin's high note, did you get chills? Did you immediately replay it? Or did his voice make you emotional? Tell us exactly what you felt in the comments, because your reaction could become part of the conversation surrounding this incredible moment. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest updates and memorable moments surrounding Jimin and BTS. One thing is certain, whether it was his highest note or simply another unforgettable vocal moment, Jimin once again reminded everyone that sometimes a single voice can say more than 1,000 words. And that is exactly why ARMY keeps listening.